The question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the member for Warringah.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Chair, and I thank the member for Canberra for bringing forward this important motion on gender pay equity. We know that, disappointingly, recent research from the Workplace Gender Equality Agency shows that the gender pay gap in Australia is impacting women across every industry, in every occupation, at every age or life stage. I mean, that is really just depressing. In fact, when I talk to young women in Warringah, they're quite shocked to hear that the status quo of where things are. And when they're at that point of launching into their careers full of optimism, to know that the system is still so stacked against them is incredibly frustrating. The overall national gender pay gap sits at 14.1%, and in fact, it's 0.3 percentage point higher than 6 months ago. Women on average earn $263 less per week than men, and this difference, combined with cost of living pressures, is placing significant stress on Australian households, particularly for single parents. KPMG estimates that the unequal distribution of household and child-rearing labour is responsible for 39% of this gap, something that a strong paid parental leave scheme can improve. So adding part-time workers widens the gender pay gap for all employees to some 29.7%. And some of the largest gaps are in fact in the professional, in scientific and technical services, healthcare and financial and insurance services. And these are some of the biggest employment services in Warringah. And most disappointingly, despite all the rhetoric, all the debates in this House and others, and policy interventions, the gap has only closed by 5% since 1983. I just find that so astounding. The global data shows the same picture. It's consistent. The International Labour Organization has noted that globally, despite substantial progress in women's employment, there had not been any meaningful narrowing of gender pay gaps at work for the past 20 years. On average, the gender pay gap globally is approximately 20%. And so for every dollar earned by a man, a woman will earn 80 cents. The gender pay gap contributes to long-term inequity and is one of the key reasons that women over 55 are the fastest growing group experiencing homelessness. Low superannuation contributions are driven by low wages. It's time out of the workforce for childcare and for other reasons, and caring responsibilities all stall superannuation and career progression. We know this. There are no secrets. We also know that climate change will impact women disproportionately. The gender pay gap makes women more vulnerable to impacts of climate change. 70% of people living in conditions of poverty globally are women. And across the world, women have limited access to and control of their environmental goods and services, negligible participation in decision-making, and are often not involved in the distribution of environment management benefits. So women are less able to confront the environmental impacts. So I welcome the government's commitment to date in relation to improving gender pay equity, including the increased paid parental leave, which took some push, but it was great to see that announcement went with the budget, improved affordability of childcare and increased pay transparency elements of the Fair Work amendments. These are welcome. They aren't coming into effect for some time though, and I have got concerns of the delay, and I appreciate there's implementation issues, but the delay means women continue to be on the back foot. There's a strong economic case for these changes. Increasing paid parental leave entitlements to 26 weeks will cost the government some $600 million per year, but will add $900 million to GDP per year, as well as boosting a mother's lifetime earnings by $30,000. Australia has one of the least generous paid parental leave schemes in the world. It's highly gendered and discriminatory in considering only a woman's income in the calculation of eligibility. So there are some improvements coming to the system, but I would urge the government to continue on. It is not enough. 26 weeks should only be the starting point. We need to continue. It's clear that childcare affordability is a major issue, and there has been the pledge by the government to improve that. But we need to recognise this sector is a heavily feminised sector, but it has critical worker shortage. There's some 7,000 vacancies across the sector in September already, and with the proposed changes, demand will increase. So we need to make sure the government has a holistic view of the picture, increases the support for women.
I thank